My name is Steve, and welcome to my shop and Shark Bits, episode number 42. In this episode of Shark Bits, I have some viewer mail. I've got some new tools that I purchased. I've got a couple of tools that were gifts, and we got some shop updates. So what I'm going to do now is bring the camera around so that I can get a close-up, little bit better view of the viewer mail that I've got. So let's get started. Got some viewer mail here. This first one was a sticker swap from a person that follows me, and I follow them on Instagram, and his sticker says Sloyd Spoon, and he is a spoon carver. His name is, he's a Canadian. The name is Benet Lemire, I believe. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. But say that's one of my Instagram followers, Sloyd Spoon. There we go. And this next one is from ARW, Amateur Redneck Workshop. I have him on my board already. However, he has supplied me with some new stickers and a nice letter. I have been participating in his Sunday live streams approximately every other Sunday. He does it every Sunday at 4 o'clock. It's an hour long, and many of the YouTube machinists participate in that. He has Randy Richard on as a regular, Stan Zinkowski, Chuck Bomarito, and the list goes on. Every once in a while Tom Lipton shows up, and some of the other big names. And then there's a group of us that kind of go in and out. I say I do it approximately every other month. So that's Harold Waters, and that's Amateur Redneck Workshop, and he goes under ARW now on his YouTube handle. And then this next one is from Gary Brown, Old Iron Machine Works, and he's another one of the YouTubers. I believe that he was on the Amateur Redneck Workshop live feed just recently. I might be wrong about that, and I have since sent out stickers to these people. So I'll get them on the sticker board, and I will put a link to their channels in the description of the video. I don't remember whether I shared this with you or not, but I'm going to be trying my hand at doing some hand scraping. And this scraper was made by Matthew Look of Look Creations. He's over in Great Britain, and I purchased this from him. I recently got in a Sandvik carbide blade for it. When I ordered this, it was very reasonably priced, and I have been looking at them. They've been a little expensive, and this one showed up. And so I clicked on it and ordered it right away, and ended up it was shipped from Bulgaria. So it took a little while to get it, but it saved quite a bit of money, and it's a branded product. It's a Sandvik blade. So I'll be installing that and getting that all ready to try my hand at scraping. I had been looking online. Let's see, I'm going to change my screen a little bit here so we can get this in the... When I first started thinking about doing some hand scraping, I started looking on eBay for a scraper, and this is the Sandvik Coromant, and it has the blade in it. And the person that listed it, I don't think knew exactly what it was. And it was an auction, but they had a make an offer on it. So I made him an offer of about half of what they normally sell for, and he came back with a counter offer that was still very reasonable, and I picked it up. And the nice thing about it is it's got the blade in it also. Now it does have a little chip on it, but I can regrind this, and so now I've got a little bit heavier duty scraper, and then the new smaller, lighter one. So I'm getting set to try my hand at scraping. So one of the tools that I want to build going along with the scraping is a low-speed grinder for doing the diamond lapping. And I purchased a set of 4 diamond plates. These are 6 inches in diameter. They have a 1/2 inch hole in them. And I have a 600, 800, 1200, and a 3000 grit wheel. So one of my projects in the not too distant future is going to be to put together a low speed grinder to be able to use these plates. In my last Shark Bits episode, I think I shared some tools that were given to me by a friend of mine whose father was a tool and die maker, and he recently came up with this Starrett 24-inch combination square. He asked me if I could use it, and absolutely jumped on it. It had a little bit of surface rust on the blade, which I've cleaned up. There were a couple of spots that were a little bit darker, but I went to work on them with some fine emery, and there's a couple, you can see a couple of spots along here, but I used some fine emery cloth with some light oil, and it cleaned up real nice. The etching on it is quite deep, so it didn't affect the ability to read it at all. So this is a real nice addition to my collection of combination squares. So I want to thank Tom again for a donation to my shop. I recently celebrated a birthday, and my youngest son gave me a set of 4 of the Bessey clamps, little bar clamps, and these are about 12 inches long. They say you can never have too many clamps, so these are a welcome addition to the shop. I want to thank my son Jeremy very much, and my other son Matthew, my older son Matthew, also, he actually gave me some money which I spent on some additional tooling. So I appreciate my birthday gifts very much. My last project video was on silver soldering, cutting and grinding a carbide tip for my Brown & Sharpe vernier height gauge, and it was actually been viewed better than many of my previous videos, but I need to apologize for the video quality on it, because on several occasions apparently I had bumped into the camera and moved it off the subject. So going forward, I'm going to try and do a better job of making sure that I keep the scene in the center of focus. A lot of people want to see what's going on, and which I certainly do when I watch videos. I like to see the machining, and so there were several times that I strayed off the subject. So I want to thank all of the people that commented, and particularly one person that was very nice about it, and he said, you know, I'd like to see it centered a little better. Thank you for those comments. I always like to include a little machining project in these SharkBits videos. This one will be no different. I have a piece of 4140 steel here that I'm going to cut down to thickness and size for a collaboration project that's coming up, that I'm working with two other YouTubers here in the States on a project which it's a secret right now, but eventually we'll all be showing it, and we'll probably have a collaboration video on it also as the project is completed. So I'm not going to tell you exactly what it is, but what I am doing with this piece of 4140 is I need to cut it down to 1 1/4 inch square and 300 thousandths thick. And I'm going to do it a little bit oversized, add a grinding allowance, and I'm going to run it on the surface grinder to get a little bit better finish on it. So I'm going to take you over to the mill and we'll get started. Yeah, the first thing I'm going to do is square up this block. I cut it out on the bandsaw, you didn't need to see that. And I have scored it with a little bit of clearance for my 1 1/4 inch. So I'm just going to clean up this side, I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to cut it down to within 10 thousandths, leaving myself a grinding allowance. And what I'm doing is I'm actually climb milling. This is a carbide cutter, so it's plenty rigid, and I'll take light cuts, but I'm going a little bit more than halfway across the width of the piece and climb milling, and what that does is it keeps the burr down, because the burr gets pushed to the inside and cut off. If I were to do conventional milling, I would end up with a burr on each side. Should be the last cut. This should make it 40 thousandths, which will leave me about 10 for a grinding allowance. Okay. The sides are parallel, and I'm at about 1 inch 258 thousandths, which is great. That'll give me 8 thousandths grinding allowance, so that's perfect. And now I'm going to, since these two sides are parallel to each other, I'm going to open up the vise, put my second parallel in there. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to move the camera. I actually have quite a bit to take off in this direction on this side, so there we go. Okay, I am at 310, so I want to take 50 thousandths off of this side, grinding allowance. We'll take another 10. Okay, there I am, about 261 thousandths, so I'm going to leave it at that. So that's ready to grind. Now my next setup will be to cut the thickness. Okay, I'm all set up to cut the thickness. It's measuring 420 thousandths now, and I'm going down to 300 plus my grinding allowance. I'm going down to 310, so I have approximately 120 thousandths to go. So I'm going to go down 100. I'm going to clean it off first. I'll go down 100 and then measure it from my final cuts. Okay, I'm at 319 right now. I wanted to go to 310, so I'm in good shape. So I'm going to take another 10 thousandths off of it, and that'll leave me at probably about a 10 thousandths grinding allowance. we go, 310. I'll take it out of here, deburr it. Okay, the piece is all roughed out. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take it over to the surface grinder and I'm going to grind the edges down to finished size. I'm doing the edges only initially because I have some features to machine into this piece and I'd like to grind it after those features are completed as far as doing the surface of it. But the features are, the datum for the features are the edges. So I want to get them down to final size before I mark it up. I'm sorry I can't share with you what the project is, but in a few weeks everybody will know. Well, that's going to wrap up this edition of Shark Bits. Thank you for watching. Please give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next video.